Hello.
Howdy.
Happy Trick or Treat Thursday. Yeah.
Happy Solar Flare Thursday.
Heck yeah. Well, before we get into that and what that means for everybody, welcome everyone to Moksha Grace Coaching. I am Michelle Barone, your co-host, and this is Moment of Presence, and I'm so glad you are here. If you know somebody that you think would enjoy these live streams, please share them out. And when you join us, make sure that you put your name in the comments and give us a shout out because we like to know who's here. And who am I joined by?
Hi, everybody. Oh, hold on. Let me move my mic closer. I don't know what I was thinking. Hi, everybody. My name is Krista with Wicked Wisdom Consulting. I am an operations professional and fractional COO. I help people run their company. I help people get all those operations projects done that they don't have time for. And I'm also Moksha Grace's COO, fractional COO, but
Yeah, you are. And
and co-host.
And you cat heard me very well.
Mm-hmm.
Because, sometimes I get distracted or go off the path and, those little things.
Yeah.
Little things. So anyway, solar flares. What the heck is going on?
Well, if anyone notices that I'm a little low energy today, it's because of the solar flares. They tend to drain me. But if you know anything about solar flares, you know that X flares are quite substantial, and we have had two over the course of 3 days. The first was on Tuesday, and it was an X7.15, and then we had one this morning that was an X9.05, and the highest one we have on record actually broke the mechanism that detects how large they are, and so they estimate it was about X45 back in 2003. But solar flares are quite impactful. Science hasn't really caught up in the science surrounding how it affects humans, but I think there's plenty of conversation about how it affects humans for us to pretty confidently say it affects us, just as being around too much technology does, because it's all about electromagnetic frequency. And the higher the flare, it can actually start to cause technology to go out, worldwide blackouts, airplane navigation to get all messed up, any sort of navigation, I guess, really. So it can be quite impactful, but so far the X flares are getting stronger, which is interesting. So we'll see what happens as the year continues.
Sounds like the sun is being triggered by something.
Mm-hmm.
Hence the segue into the topic today. So our topic is about being haunted, not just by old fears or old traumas, but things that happen that can spark some feels in us and create a reaction. And that is what one of the things I love to help people do is to take away the trigger, take away the impact that the trigger has on a person so that they can respond in situations instead of like knee-jerk reaction.
Right.
So so boo, don't get fearful of your fears. There is help and there are things that you can do. What Krista is a something that you ruminate about, or a trigger if you want to share.
Sure. So I have actually a lot. No, I'm kidding. Not really. But I have some back from my cancer journey. You know, there's certain phrases, there's certain um, testing that if it's talked about around me, I start to get a reaction, and I can't talk about it too much, or it like really heightens my nervous system. Even something as simple as, you know, I'm a grown adult. I choose not to consume alcohol, but like the concept of taking shots and stuff like that, like I physically cannot do it due to the traumas of going through medical treatment at such a young age. And you know,
Right.
you shoot medication, and you mostly take liquid medication as a kid. So that comes up for me. I mean, still to this day, I don't do shots at all or often, but if I wanted to, I really can't. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but even certain, like I said, certain like discussing different testing and stuff like that that's done gives me the heebie-jeebies. I can't talk about it. I
Yeah.
mean, I can talk about it. I can push through, but I don't like to because it causes a reaction in my nervous system.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Um, and when that happens,
Mhm.
what do you do? What's your technique?
That nice deep breath. Move on.
Yeah.
Honestly, the best technique is just moving on. The best technique is shift your thought. Go somewhere else. At least if you're literally in the middle of not a panic state but a heightened state.
Mm-hmm.
For me, the quickest route out of that is change thought pattern, change direction, like get yourself out of that thought space.
Right.
um, and then you can process when you're ready to. For me.
And triggers, it's not like they warn us. Not really.
Well,
They,
some do, but some are sneaky.
yeah, they are. They are. Uh, the other day I had an experience where it brought me back to a moment in corporate America
Mhm.
where I was ambushed when I thought I was going to a meeting with one person, and then it turned into two back in the day. This was
Mhm.
years ago. And it wasn't a very pleasant meeting. It was definitely an ambush. And there's actually, if you go on LinkedIn, and I'll give a shout out because their website helped me a lot, and it was the Workplace Bully Institute, and they actually have a video of
Mhm.
what an ambush meeting looks like, an HR ambush meeting. And I swear, I thought back in the day after I saw that video, I was like, "Oh my god, did HR? Did they watch this and like did they plan the whole thing?" Because it was like
I think
exactly what
it's probably more of a lack of creativity, so they all end up sort of doing the same thing. But you know,
happened.
tomato potato.
Yeah, let's train you on how to have an ambush meeting. But anywho, what happened the other day was actually very good and it was pleasant, but it just caught me off guard.
Mhm.
And I saw, it was supposed to be with one person, it ended up being with two. And I was like, oh my gosh, here I go. And what a crazy thought, because everything is fine.
Yeah.
And so these triggers, when they sneak up on you, you never know. And what was really cool is normally I would be frazzled, like it would just like
Mhm.
shake me. And I was able, because of the work that I've done, I was able to go, okay, breathe, like just
Mhm.
like you did, breathe, right? And then you just move on, because in that at that point there's nothing that you can do. And so
Right.
you see what's happening, because you don't know. And
Mhm.
the more you try to look into the future, the worse it is, and the more anxiety you'll give yourself.
Mhm.
So that's how I handle triggers.
I mean, and real quick, hi Adam, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here. You know, the thing with triggers is sometimes we kind of anticipate them,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, a lot of times triggers are the first time they happen, they're shocking, and then we sort of know, kind of, we have an idea of if something's going to trigger us. We have, you know, it becomes less surprising.
Right.
But I think what people can forget is that, to quote Shrek, People are like onions. You know, there's always more layers to something. So, has it been 25 years since I've been through cancer treatment? Yes. Are there still certain things that are will trigger some, nervous system response in me? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, not nearly as strong of a reaction as some things trigger me regarding your mom passing back in June. There's some things that come up for me that still are surprising to me that I'm like, whoa, I didn't. Oh, that's why I'm having a hard time breathing right now. Oh, okay. Got it. It's related to that situation. Um, so the intensity is different,
Mm-hmm.
but the trigger isn't. And
Yeah.
so I think what we can tend to do is think, I'm over that. Oh, that doesn't bother me anymore.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it does.
But it does. And
Like
the more you ignore it, what happens?
right, the stronger it gets. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's always, I think the best thing, what I always suggest to the clients is get curious about it, whether it's a trigger, whether it's a fear, whether you're just having an anxious moment. And, the questions, pen and paper out, please. The questions that I like to start with is number one, is this mine?
Yeah.
Because you may be picking up on energy around you, right? Or, coming from somebody else, or solar flares. You don't know. So ask, is this mine? And then the second thing is, where is this coming from? What is it about this situation
Yeah.
that has me unnerved, triggered, fearful? And then when you can identify that, the third thing is if you really want to dive into it, you can think of, okay, when was the first time I felt like this?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And then you can bring yourself down to, but I'm not there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. And that's when you do that five senses check in where you're like, okay, where am I? What am I touching? What am I smelling? What am I
Right.
feeling? And you bring yourself back into the moment. And of course, the deep breaths
Mm-hmm.
are always so important. Ground yourself. And when you do that, you bring yourself back into this moment,
Mm-hmm.
not the moment where the trigger began.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a way to work through it. Um, what's a fear that you can remember you had when you were a kid that you feel like you've gotten rid of?
I once I once decided it was a good idea to put on, it must have been Animal Planet back in the day at the time. It was a sleepover and I was probably 7 or 8 and I put on a documentary about anacondas. And from that day, I don't even know how long it lasted. I was absolutely terrified because the story in the documentary was an anaconda came into someone's house through a doggy door and suffocated them while they slept. And we didn't have a doggy door.
No.
We didn't live anywhere where anacondas were, that easily around. I had never even seen one.
Right.
But in my mind at that age, I literally could not sleep every night because I thought an anaconda was going to somehow get inside my room and strangle me in my sleep. And
And
that probably was a few years. It slowly got better over time, but I'll tell you what though, I went to the zoo about 6, 8 months ago. They were feeding the anaconda and I could not watch. So still there somewhere. 20 years later.
well, and on the other side, somewhere in your office,
Right there. I have a ball python. So,
so you've kind of gotten past a little bit of it, but not quite all of it. But you're working through it.
I've gotten through most of it. I don't think an anaconda is going to strangle me in my sleep, so we're good there. I mean, they're still, massive creatures and can do some damage, so,
Yeah. I would say my my fear uh
was
that
getting hit by someone on a motorcycle.
don't start with that again.
Check out last week's episode if you're not sure what we're talking about.
No, because I can hear a motorcycle and not freak out, and I can ride my bike while a car is driving by and not freak out. So, yay. I will say, and this is kind of one of those things like in Practical Jokers, like I'm afraid to say it because if
is this gonna send me on another laughing fit again?
Probably, because you know how I feel about it, but it's down here in Florida, in South Florida.
Wait. This is not a fear that you've gotten over, though, as I heard.
That's what I'm saying.
Ago. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. They haunt me, and so down in South in Florida, there are cockroaches, but they're not just normal cockroaches. They're like 2 inches, inch and a half to 2 inches, and they fly. And they're called palmetto cockroaches. And I have screamed. I've jumped on top of stools.
She abandoned her young daughter on crutches, stuck on a couch because one came in the room. There's something that I haven't gotten over.
I did do that.
Yeah, you did. It's hysterical. I'm replaying the scene in my head right now, and it's the best.
Listen, so what I have done is I've learned how to I take my hairspray. Those suckers can't fly when you use Aquanet on them. It makes their wings stick. And then you can go get the bug spray or a really big, really, really big shoe.
I just keep hearing your scream that you do in my head because it's such a distinct cockroach scream. Or maybe it's more like a screech. Maybe it's more the better word for it.
Oh my god, my stomach hurts. I'm laughing so much. So one day I was.
Is this going to turn into just stories about cockroaches, or okay?
I don't even want to do that. I don't want to talk about it anymore because one's going to fly on me.
Oh my god, that would be the best day of my life.
No, I will say that one day I was on a meeting on Zoom, and I look up. Something caught my eye in the window, and there was a Jesus lizard. And if you don't know what a Jesus lizard is, these lizards can be this long, and this one was about that long. Oh, don't roll your eyes.
That's head to tail, and it's got a long tail.
Its head looks like what dinosaur?
I can't think of the name of it, but it looks like a dinosaur head. It's got like this ridge across the top.
Yeah,
they're pretty cool.
They run so fast that they run on water. So they walk on water, which is why they're called Jesus lizards. And this dang thing was in my office on my windowsill looking at me like, yo, what's up? What are we talking about today? And I was like, hold on one second. And I didn't know what to do. And then the dog tried to jump on the desk, and it was a mess. But everything.
So anyway, back to the topic of the day.
Yeah, how to get rid of your fears.
Exposure therapy evidently is helpful.
Exposure therapy is very, very helpful.
Consult a physician. We're not doctors.
And yeah, I mean, if you have like massive fears and major panic and anxiety, and then yes, you need to talk to somebody. And yes, a medical professional sometimes can, definitely be what is needed. Sometimes what's needed is to unemotionally go back to the moment, see what was happening, and work through it with somebody helping you move through it. And that's what I like to do and help people do, because when you're not triggered, or when you are triggered but you know how to handle it, because we can't take away our triggers. That's like saying we can stop change, or we can stop chaos. It's not going to happen. The only thing that you can do is learn how to manage those things. And so when you're triggered, like we've gotten to the point with some things, that we can take a breath, take a moment, take a step back, and move through it and respond and not react.
You'll have to tell me what you're talking about later. But I think there is something important to note here. Yes, that's all true. There's also, and this may be more dependent on kind of like how your internal world works. So, as I've mentioned before, I've had issues with anxiety and all sorts of things for years. And so, for me, I'm also a very logical person. So, what's very ironic and kind of funny is a lot of times I can go back and look at situations and see logically, how things work. I can look at them differently, see from different perspectives, and be okay with it logically. But
Mm-hmm.
because those events happened, let's say when I was a kid or middle school, high school, whatever it was, there's still emotions attached to it that don't necessarily, sometimes yes, but don't necessarily just go away because you thought of a situation differently. And so there is very much a component of having to work through those emotions and
Mm-hmm.
get the emotions to come up and out of your system that just thinking of different perspectives is not necessarily going to do. There's,
Absolutely.
multiple things that happened in middle school, which was very unpleasant for me, that looking back, I totally understand motives. I understand, different perspectives. I understand what people were going through at the time that caused certain behaviors. It still to this day causes emotional, just some emotional tingling and stuff
Yeah.
that you have to work through over time. And that's where, the back from the dead comes from. I've said how many times, oh, I'm over that.
Yeah.
But then a little piece will come up and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. Okay. Gotta process that. Move on. But okay.
Well, and you can't just rebury the zombie. The zombie will
Right.
dig itself back up. And so, that's why we were kind of having fun with the title and the write up about this, because you can't just throw a ghost or a zombie back in the grave. You actually have to acknowledge it. You have to work through it. You have to allow it to come up. The more you do that, the less weight it has, the less
Yep.
strength it has over you, power it has over you, because yeah, you're getting used to the feeling,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also desensitizing you a bit.
Yep.
Like, yeah, okay, that thing happened, that sucked. You
Yeah.
know, we've mentioned it before a long time ago, but I had a rape situation. That doesn't mean that when I walk down the street, I'm like nervous. I look around, my head's on a swivel. I check, who I'm talking to and what's happening, but I don't walk around fearful that
Mm-hmm.
something like that's going to happen again, or I can't be alone in a room with somebody. Like, I know who I am. I'm much stronger.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't even think about it anymore. But I've done a lot of work on it to be
Mm-hmm.
able to not give that power anymore. So it
Right.
doesn't hold, it's not holding like that other shoe to drop, or an axe,
Mm-hmm.
like an axe over my head, uh,
Right.
or someone about to stab me in the back. Like, I just, whatever. If listen, if somebody, according from what I'm hearing, there's supposed to be something happening in the next month or two, if y'all believe in astrology and horoscopes, that something's happening. And okay, well, we'll see what it is, and I'll deal with it whenever it comes up.
Let's just pause and go back for a second. How does that connect to the story you just said?
Well, because like if you believe in horoscopes and astrology and what someone says might be coming, then you could either be looking over your shoulder, going, oh my God, what's going to happen? Or you can just go, okay, so when that happens, I'll be prepared for it. So it's like a trigger.
Gotcha. Okay. I thought they were connected somehow. I got confused. Got it. They're separate.
No, 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 no,
Okay. Gotcha.
no,
Gotcha.
no,
Gotcha.
no. Totally separate situations. I was talking about the stabbing in the back and, something ending and things like that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. I think it's important to note too, that is obviously a very big, impactful situation. And I think something else that can be a hurdle in the process for people is sometimes the things that end up triggering us the most in the long run can be very small things that, we may look at and be like, oh my God, I haven't gotten over this. It's not even that big of a deal. What the hell?
Mm-hmm.
But that's not really for us to decide if our body is reacting, if our psyche is reacting, if our nervous system is reacting in a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
We really can't judge that. It's not always these big, traumatic, massive experiences that come up over and over for us to learn from and heal and look at. And, sometimes it can be very small things.
Yeah. And that's a really good point, because there's people that will do that comparisonitis, I'll talk to somebody and they'll say, well, it's not even that big of a deal. Like, I know that people have it worse off than me. Or
I hate
there's
that
things that
crap.
were so much better, because whatever happened to you is relative to you. And if it
Exactly.
caused you pain and suffering inside and you're still enduring it, you don't have to do that alone, and you don't have to do it anymore. You don't have to keep carrying it. You do have to face it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have your choices. You can either face it and deal with the uncomfortableness for just a few moments, or you can continue to drag it around like one of those big lead balls that, the chain and ball that is attached to your foot.
Flip that ball and chain, but
Ball
yeah.
and chain and ball, whatever, ball and chain. See, she keeps me on track. But it's understanding and accepting yourself instead of judging yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of comparing yourself. It's
Mm-hmm.
going, okay, like, okay, I'm afraid of roaches. That's me. And I will scream like as if somebody's killing me if I see one that is coming towards me.
Mm-hmm.
I have to accept that that is my fear and love myself anyway. And I'm using that kind of, as a kind of flippant, but there are those kind of fears that we have to just accept that this makes me feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have to put yourself in the situation anyway, then there are techniques and methods that you can use to take away some of that uncomfortableness so that you can manage it the right way.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things that we've talked about before, I remember us talking about it a few weeks ago. I think it was moment of presence. Maybe it was even a couple months ago now. But I was, giving the example of, if you find it hard to listen to those that have differing opinions than you do,
Mm-hmm.
basically slowly over time, whether it's you put on a video or you keep yourself in a conversation with other people, but give yourself that exposure to that thing. So that way, and so slowly increase the time that you're able to do that. So whether it's, listening to a political candidate of an opposing side, or I don't know, watching a ball game of a team that, you really don't like, or, just anything that triggers that response in you, and slowly increase the time that you're exposed to it. And you will find that, your nervous system doesn't react the same way that it has in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. And if it's about a person or a people and a situation, then there's this other big ghost in the room that we have to talk about, which is forgiveness. And forgiving it's not forgiving the person, it's forgiving the situation. Or it's not forgetting the situation, but it's allowing yourself to release yourself from the situation of the pain from it that it's
Mm-hmm.
causing. Because
Mm-hmm.
if it's still causing you pain, I guarantee you whoever did you wrong is not feeling it,
Mm-hmm.
but you're allowing it to still bother you and weigh on you
Mm-hmm.
and block you and hold you back, and not you personally, but in general. And so forgiveness can be I forgive the situation. I forgive myself if you feel that you put yourself in that situation. And there's that ho'oponopono prayer that we both love so much, where it's, I love you, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. And it's I like to say you're saying it more to the universe, the environment, and the situation that played out, not necessarily about a person. But I'm also not going to hold a grudge about a person. I'm just going to release them from my life. Like, I wish you well, but my energy's here,
Hmm.
and you'll find that as you start working with your alignment and your energy, those type of people that do things that trigger you, they're going to fall away. They're just going to start disappearing from your life on their own
Yeah.
because they're not aligned with you.
Yes. And if forgiveness feels like too far of a reach for you, listen, I am stubborn as hell. I get it. I don't like it either. Um, I prefer the term letting something go. I think forgiveness, it doesn't sit as well with me. I probably have some things that I have to do there. Um, but for me, it's the same principle, but just letting it go. I don't want to hold on to it anymore. So I let it go. And that in and of itself can be a very infuriating statement because it's like, what the hell does that even mean? Let it go. Well, how should I let it go?
As
And as
Sheldon
someone who's been there and
said,
okay, Sheldon, as someone who's been there in the place of what the hell does let it go even mean?
mm-hmm.
It really is that simple. But if you're not ready to let it go, you're not ready to let it go.
And
And
nobody can force you to either.
nobody can force you to. And sometimes that means that there's a little bit something else that you're supposed to get from the situation. And I've held on to things way longer than other people thought I should have.
Yeah.
But I ultimately got what I needed out of it.
And
And then I
and
was able to let it go.
yeah, and so have I. And so if you still have your pen and paper out, add another question to the list that I gave you already, which is, what is this supposed to teach me? What is the lesson that I can learn from this?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's always something that you can get from a situation, even one that's horrific.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the storm that came through that demolished cities. What is the lesson from this? The lesson is the way that I see it for me is to open my eyes and see that there's still so much good in the world. There are so many people that are jumping in to help. There are so many people that are doing things that are crossing the lines, politically, religious, just all kinds of lines are being crossed in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And they're helping each other. We're actually showing each other that we can be human beings again. And I think that that's a really good thing. And that takes you to law of attraction. And when you ask for something, you can't judge how it's delivered. And
Mm-hmm.
so when you say you want more peace or more humanity, well, sometimes the only way to see that is through some damage and destruction. I hate to say it, but you can always rebuild, and it's showing the resilience of the humans in this world that we're pulling together.
Yeah.
Some more than others.
That just made me think of too, because we've talked about this concept quite a bit in the last few weeks, and that is the concept that, you know, be careful what you ask for, and I think we talked about it in your newsletters a little bit too, but be careful how what you ask for, because the method of delivery is not necessarily maybe what you had in mind. And I've found myself in the last, maybe it was like a month ago, there was a way that I was phrasing something that I realized, you know what, I don't like the way that this is being phrased. And I reached out to a mutual friend of ours who is very knowledgeable about these things. And I asked him, I've been setting this intention, but I realize that it leaves me open for this and this scenario. How do I change that intention now? Which may seem straightforward to some people, but maybe it's just me as an overthinker. But it really is just a matter of just changing your intention.
Mm-hmm.
Don't worry about what you said in the past. Don't worry about what you've asked for in the past. Just pick something new.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
If you realize, you're asking for something and it leaves you, like, let's say you're asking for, I don't even know, whatever you're asking for, if it's not exactly the way you want to be asking it, just pick a new way to ask it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, I mean, I think that we can talk about something that's a big reality that everybody is probably very fearful of right now, which is finances, right? They're freaking out. There's all kinds of things happening. Bank of America was down yesterday and showing everyone they had nothing, no money in their account. With law of attraction, again, universal law. So this is just the way that it is. So learn how to use it to your advantage. The universe, and we're going to talk about this in a different episode, but the universe does not know no.
Mm-hmm.
It can't tell the difference between a yes and a no. All it knows is what you're focusing on. If you're focusing on what you're fearful of, if I'm going to see a roach after this show, I guarantee you, because we were talking about it and I was focusing on it and I was so in that moment and I could feel myself ready to scream, that I won't be surprised if later tonight there's going to be one that I'm going to see.
Well, luckily I won't run across bone marrow transplants, so
No, thank God, ever again. But what you focus on, you can get more of. So if you're fearful of, oh my God, how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to pay my bills? Instead of thinking that way, think of how grateful you are for everything that you already have. Be thankful for the computer in front of you, or
or get off the topic completely if you can't stay in that state.
Yes, or get off the topic completely if you can't stay in that state, and go very general, which is what I was getting to, is just be thankful for what's in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And the other day, there were storm clouds everywhere. I was laying by the pool and I was like, oh, hell no. This is my day to lay by the pool. It's not going to rain on me. But there was this whole part of the sky that was blue and the sun was shining. And so every time the float would turn me to look at the gray clouds, I would, and this sounds so silly and so simple, I would turn around and I would focus on the blue sky and the sun.
Mm-hmm.
And I got another couple hours in the pool. Or I could have allowed the fear of, oh no, impending storm coming in, and run inside. But I didn't allow that to happen. I focused on what was in front of me, not what was behind me.
Well, and I also want to expand on, you started that with the universe, our mind doesn't understand no.
Right.
And to take that maybe a step further and a step in terms of like practicality, it also means when it comes to things that you tell yourself, your psyche does not hear the word no, it doesn't hear don't, it doesn't hear not. So let's say the cockroach example. If you're telling yourself, I don't want to see a cockroach, what your brain is hearing, if we negate the don't, is I want to see a cockroach.
Or just cockroach.
If you're saying, I don't want to see any more bills today, take out the don't. I want to see more bills today. If you're saying, oh, that's not for me, oh, that's for me, is what your brain's hearing. So you have to be careful with the language and really make sure that if you are, starting the journey of watching your language, that you need to watch the don'ts, the nots, the no's, because your brain doesn't hear those. It hears everything else around it.
Yeah. And going back to the bill one, and I know that this is this is one that I've talked into, oblivion, but it's so easy and we all deal with it all the time. We all have bills to pay, and we can focus on the lack of money to pay the bills potentially, or you can go, I love being able to flip a switch and the light comes on. I love that I have connection with the internet and we can be on live right now. I love Zoom. I love all of the enhancements that they're making. I think it's the coolest thing ever. I love Restream. I love and you just go through, I love my cell phone. I love being connected to people. And so if you go very general with that, and I want more of that. I want to be connected more. Now you're looking into the future. You're thinking about what's possible, and you're also showing gratitude. And that's what the universe is hearing, and that's what they're going to give you.
Or get off the topic completely.
Or get off the topic completely and go do something really fun. And sometimes you just have to go and take a nap or meditate. So those are two other techniques. But anyway, Krista, where can people find you if they need someone to keep them on track and help them build their business to the next level?
And get things done? Why, they can find me at wickedwisdomconsulting.com. I have a whole list of services on there. I've got a place to book a free consult. I've got a place to book a one-on-one networking chat. Got lots of information on there, so go check it out, wickedwisdomconsulting.com. And that's where you can find me. I'm also on, Facebook, LinkedIn, all that good stuff. Oh, and Instagram now. So, if you want to see some posts about operations, Wicked Wisdom Consulting on Instagram. Is that what I said? Or did I say LinkedIn? I meant to say Instagram. I'm telling you, these solar flares got me out of it. But Michelle, where can they find you?
They can find me at mokshagrace.com and anywhere on social media under Moksha Grace. And before we leave, I absolutely want us to do some deep breathing. And I'm going to be thinking about teddy bears and pretty crystals and not anything else that we talked about today. So, big deep breath in, hold at the top, let go of all of the fears and the zombies that may have come up for you today. Take a big exhale or a yawn. Got to let go of that energy. It's discharging energy. It's a good thing. Deep breath in and hold it. And slowly exhale. And another big deep breath in. And think about how you can transform those fears into dreams and little fuzzy, furry animals that you love and they're cuddly. And exhale slowly. And for those of you that are truly interested in transformation and want to make some changes in your life, your relationships, your career, and just really see a different side of yourself, you can either book a compatibility call with me and we can discuss on whether group coaching or one-on-one coaching is best for you. I do have a community that meets on Thursdays at 7 Eastern PM. And we do group coaching. You bring the topic and I am the coach. And so we will talk through it. And it's just a subscription service. So you can join monthly as needed and stay as long as you want. Because it's the community that I made specifically for those that have not really had long-term coaching and don't really understand the benefits of it. And this is a way for you to see how impactful it can be.
So you just want weekly group coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So anyway, there's lots of ways to get involved with mokshagrace.com. And I love seeing you all here. Thank you for joining us. We have a choice that we get to make every day when we open our eyes. We can have a good day. We can have a bad day. We can make that choice. So choose wisely. And I'll see you all next week. Shockingly Delightful on Wednesday, and then Moment of Presence on Thursday.